Children, come, come. You've arrived at just the right moment.
Oh, what is it, Granny? Need any help?
Oh, no. You've done so much for Liyue Harbor already. I could hardly ask for more. In fact, my old friends and I have been putting our heads together to think of what sort of gift we...
A gift? For Paimon?
Oh, child, you are so very modest. Uncommonly so. When you traversed my old teapot in search of the cleansing bell, I heard your little friend mention... That simply won't do. Especially since, I imagine, fortunately, I have not yet grown so old as to see my... Oh, did my friends never mention that to you? Well then, it is a blessing we old folks once received. I will not go into too much detail, but subspace creation is the ability. The teapot that you entered previously was a little trinket created using that ability.
So, in the eyes of an adeptus, creating a magic teapot world is just...
Oh, indeed, the teapot is nothing to boast of. One such as myself must depart from this realm to create a world of one's own. Rex Lapis, on the other hand, moved... but that's enough nostalgia for now. The gift that I have prepared for you just requires...
That's right! Findings...
Oh, settle down now, children. There's no need for you to go running. What's more, I doubt that you would know how to find the materials I am searching for. Well, for starters, I require some shimmer soil from the banks of Dihua Marsh. You would have to dig downward, following the roots of the glaze lilies. And if you were lucky enough... But almost no one has been able to find shimmer soil in this manner since Dihua. Even more difficult to find is smaragdus jadeite, which must be chiseled from the rock of the chasm. Or so it used to be. Ever since the Blackcliff Forge opened for business, they've sloped. In any case, smaragdus jadeite is an adepti treasure, and the adeptal power within... Goodness knows if that child will succeed in finding these items.
Well, since you're an adeptus, Granny,
Yes, I suppose she does.
She counts? How come there are so many adepti in Liyue Harbor? We seem to bump into them all the time. It feels like even when you go out to eat, you could be sitting next to an adept.
Oh, maybe so. Who can say?
I'm back, Granny. Oh, I don't believe we've met.
Allow me to do the honors. This child here is Yanfei. She's the one helping run some errands for me. Yanfei, I believe you've already heard of the Traveler and her...
Of course, who hasn't? Much has been written about you in the Milliliths. You became one of Liyue's most wanted after the Millilith marked you as a suspect following the incident at the Rite of Dissension. After which, you fought off the Millilith at Julian Karst and made contact with the Fatui, before finally defeating an ancient god together with Granny and her associates, and subsequently being cleared of any and all suspicion by the Chising. A shame that we didn't meet sooner. If we had, well, I can't say that I would have been able to clear you of suspicion immediately, but it certainly would have been less, allow me to introduce myself once more. I'm Yanfei, a legal advisor. Got a legal problem? You can come right to me. Oh, yes, here's my business card. You'll find it has my contact details and office address. Keep it handy. If you have an urgent issue, just leave me a note at this address. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I offer a very generous discount for first-time customers.
All right, Yanfei, all right. Let's get to the business at hand. I do not think these two are in any dire need of legal assistance. You'll have to excuse Yanfei. She's always been like this. Ever the talk.
Paimon was gonna ask the same question. You seem really different from the ones we've met before.
An adeptus? I guess. Kinda. My old man said he was one anyway. He mentioned that he once campaigned with Rex Lapis for a long old time, and then after that was all over, he went back and married my mom. They had me, and once I was all grown up, the two of them upped and left on a journey, leaving me with Granny here.
Well, that's a bit casual for an Adeptus. Aren't you guys supposed to sign solemn contracts to protect Liyue Harbor and all that stuff? What do you mean he just went back to get married?
Well, my dad did say that he talked it through with Rex Lapis and that he was fine with it. Even contributed towards the wedding gift, apparently. Anyway, let's not dwell on that too much. So, Granny, I've gotten a hold of most of the stuff you asked for, except the chasm's been sealed off, and there's just no way in. Couldn't secure any documentation either. Looks like the Ministry of Civil...
Is that so? Yanfei, are you sure you can't find some other way? They have helped...
I know, Granny, you've told me 1,000 times already. Well, the chasm's definitely a no-go. Hold on a moment. Let me have a look.
Whoa, that's a really thick book. What kind of things do you write in there?
Commercial consultancy. Or Snezhnaya. Ah, found him. Crossel. A Snezhnayan merchant who once came to me with some legal queries on certain articles in the legal codices. If my memory serves, all of them had to do with rare ores. He mentioned that he was considering acquiring some Smaragdus jadeite to make hairpins, and wanted to know if there were any legal ramifications that he should be aware of. Said he was planning to sell them in Snezhnaya. So, I guess I'll go look for him. With any luck, he'll have gotten his hands on some Smaragdus jadeite, or might... Oh, you want to join me? I suppose that's no problem, but it's best if you just stand by and watch. If you...
Wow, an Adeptus imploring us to avoid incurring the... Best we be a little more careful than usual while we're with her.
Go! With the wind. Go! Huh? Hello, Mr. Crossel. How's business been?
Oh, good, very good. All thanks to your advice, Miss Yanfei. What brings you here to...
You're too kind. I was simply doing my job. Now, I believe that the last time we met, you mentioned that you were looking to source some Smaragdus jadeite.
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, in the end I did acquire a small piece of Smaragdus jade. Miss Yanfei, might I presume that you have an interest in the hairpins? I must apologize, I've already...
Wait, isn't Smaragdus jadeite really rare? Aren't you worried about the hairpin?
No, I'm not worried in the slightest, because I signed a contract with Miss Zhiqiao before The contract makes it quite clear that if she loses or damages the item in question, she must... In return, I included a clause that guarantees the Smaragdus jadeite is genuine, with a penalty of 10 times the item's value payable by me to Miss Zhiqiao in the event that it is shown to be a fake.
Guaranteed genuine, with 10 times the value payable if this claim is shown to be false. Yes, these terms are very clear indeed.
Of course. This way, both the client and I have the assurance we need. To ensure fairness, each of us is retained in a...
In that case, might you know where Miss Zhiqiao lives? We'd like to pay her a visit and have a look...
Oh, of course. She wrote her address down when we signed our contract.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Crossel. We'll be off now. Go!
Whatever shall I do? Yes, that's me. Is there something I can help you with?
How do you do, Miss Zhiqiao? We understand from Mr. Crossel, my associates and I are very interested in them. Would you mind letting us take a look at them?
The hairpins? I can't lend them to you right now. I don't know how it could have happened. I always kept them right by my side, and I hadn't even... I spent so much money on them. If I have to pay their original value, there's no way... My family is in the ore business, too. But business has been suffering ever since the chasm was sealed off. We now have a backlog of paid-up orders just sitting around. So we've been having to purchase some stock from other ore merchants to complete. A big banquet is coming up in a few days, and several ore merchants I know of will be there. I need this opportunity to mingle and discuss prices. That's what the hairpins were for, to keep up appearances. I can't have them looking down on me, but now that I've lost the hairpins...
Why does Paimon have a sudden strong sense of deja vu?
Would you really? I sent a commission to the Adventurers Guild, but I haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Hold on. Don't run off looking for the hairpins just yet. Mr. Chow, would you let me have a look at the rental contract?
Huh? Well, I mean, sure, I have it right here.
Let me see.
That's right! Yanfei said she's a legal advisor, didn't she? Maybe she... True. Though surely there must be a win-win solution.
Right. I finished reading the contract. The terms are very clear, and they do indeed stipulate that you must pay Mr. Crossell the... Furthermore, the contract also expressly states that the amount of compensation must... And given the rarity of Smaragdus Jadeite, I fear that the final amount of compensation...
Even higher? Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Yuchou looks like she's about...
However, all of this is assuming that it is indeed...
Did you really have to pause before saying that part? Anyway, the hairpins are lost, so how exactly would we be able to find out if the Jadeite... Whichever way you look at it, we've got to start by finding those hairpins.
Except that if we found the hairpins, there'd no longer be any need to check whether the Jadeite is genuine.
Seems right.
Please, don't trouble yourselves over this. However much it is, I will have to pay it. My family are merchants, after all. Now that it's come to this, I really shouldn't keep Crossell in the dark any longer.
Yes, legally speaking, it seems this is the most sensible course of action. So hold on a moment, Mr. Chow. When you first touched the hairpins...
What did I feel? Well, I remember that the gemstone said my family has seen much jade pass through its hands in the past, so I'm...
Smooth to the touch. No, it's nothing. I just need to re-examine a few things. Let's head over to Mr. Crossell's.
Ah, Miss Yanfei, you've returned. With Miss Jiqiao in tow.
About that.
You lost them? Are you serious? Do you...
I'm sorry. Truly I am.
Mora! Do you have any idea what I had to go through to get my... I just don't... Forget it. Talking won't bring them back. Since Miss Yanfei is here, I suppose we can just have her estimate the amount.
No problem. But before I can give an official estimate, I'll need to do a little market research. Ah, yes. And if I may just confirm again, it was in fact genuine Smaragdus...
Of course. Genuine article guaranteed, or I pay back...
All right, understood. I'll conduct some market research, and once I'm back, I'll provide an official assessment of the sum owed by Mr. Chow in compensation.
Thank you very much. How could she lose my hairpins? She'd better pay...
Looks like I'll have to find some way to raise that.
Please wait, Mr. Chow. I have something to discuss with you. It's not convenient to speak here, so let's find somewhere that we can sit and talk in more detail.
Kalau nggak sekarang aku takutnya nggak diatur mau aku diatur lebih dari tanggal 5 malah tadi ya.
Miss Yanfei, what is this about? Are you...
No. What I wanted to talk about is, there is a chance that the ore inlaid on those hairpins may not be Smaragdus jade.
What do you mean? Are you
Obviously not. I'm no adventurer, let alone a member of the guild. I don't run thankless, time-consuming errands for... I don't know if Granny told you this, but Smaragdus jadeite is found deep underground and contains very concentrated... If mere mortals come into contact with it, well, they'll be sick in the best case. And in the worst case, they could even experience... Mr. Chow, did you at any time feel...
No, not at all. I felt perfectly fine the whole time. Not even...
Now that is strange. I noticed earlier that there were... If I've deduced correctly, he may still have this...
If that's the case, we should go confront him right now and expose his dirt.
Absolutely not. If we were to confront him now, there's no way he would admit to it. Eventually, he would find some argument to compel us to leave. And then, he'd throw the Smaragdus jadeite into the sea the moment we were gone. After that, he would simply insist that Mr. Chow pay up per the contract. He would lose nothing. Meanwhile, we would have to look under every stone in Liyue, hoping and praying that the hairpins do actually still exist.
So vivid that Paimon thinks it might be experience talking.
Oh, it certainly is. I've seen my fair share of situations like this, and brute force methods are certainly one way of resolving them. Fortunately, I have far more elegant solutions at my disposal.
Well then, since you're so experienced in dealing with problems like this, perhaps...
Oh, that won't be a problem. But first, Mr. Chow, can I ask you to please sign this contract?
Huh? Does there have to be a contract for everything? Paimon can't even... It feels like Yanfei is even more concerned with them than a certain...
These are my formal terms of engagement. Everything prior to now has just been pro bono advice. But for me to investigate any further, I require a written contract. Anywhere commissioned but not bound by a contract cannot be...
I understand. Then I will be glad to place this matter into your capable hands if you will take it, Miss Yanfei.
No problem. Just sign here, and I'll sign too. Okay. Now write your address here, and then sign on this page as well. And I'll also need your signatures on pages 5, 7, and on the very last page. Finally, if you could just use this ink pad to make a handprint over here.
This contract has so many pages. Paimon's all out of brain juice again.
All right, that should do it. My fees are the same as always, and they're written in the contract. Have a look through and let me know if you have any questions.
I've had a read through. Everything checks out.
Well then, here's your copy of the contract. I will retain the other copy. Not for now, no. Despite how intractable this problem might sound, it will actually be quite straightforward to I don't believe you have been part of an investigation like this before, in which case, hopefully...
Miss Yanfei, I have to ask.
Because, as it happens, I'm currently trying to acquire some Smaragdus jadeite myself. I noticed strong trait. Whether he actually made it into an item of jewelry or not is a separate matter. But either way, it's a lead. As long as we follow it, who knows? Also, the idea of someone abusing the law to their advantage, I won't stand for it. But again, let's not dwell on this. Let's go to... Where can we find someone who I've got it. Let's pay a visit to Chateau, the boss of the Jade Mystery. If Mr. Crossell had his ore worked on at all, Chateau would
Why, hello there, honored customers. Welcome to... Oh! Surely not more spurious claims that my jade betting is rigged and no one can ever win?
No, nothing of the sort. Has a Snezhnyan merchant named Crossell enlisted your ore processing services recently?
A Snezhnyan merchant named I do remember that. He brought me a piece of ore, claiming that it was Smaragdus jadeite. That was the first time I'd ever encountered it, so I had no way of telling if it was really Smaragdus jadeite or not. But if a customer... He was quite generous with his money, too, so I didn't give it too much thought. I processed the ore as per his request.
Do you have any leftover debris from your work on it?
Why, yes. It was my first time encountering this ore, after all, so I kept a few loose shavings to...
Thank you, sir. We'll take a look at them.
Try your luck betting on Jade?
Huh? If my eyes don't deceive me, the cross-section, yes. It's not particularly rare, nor is it especially valuable. It's used to make jewelry all the time. I've heard it said that Smaragdus nephrite is in fact the outer layer of Smaragdus jadeite, though no one's ever proven it.
A thin layer of separation, huh?
If you must see for yourself, try examining these shavings for traces of elemental energy. Smaragdus nephrite?
Is that so? So, did you find anything? So they really are different. But wait, how come
There's nothing special to it. It just so happens that I've come across a great many of these. These two stones actually look very similar. Someone without a deep understanding of them would find it. There may be only a subtle difference for the casual viewer, but that translates to an astronomical difference in terms of the market price. And, I'm sure, a significant difference in the cost of having them.
All right, let's focus up. We're going off on a tangent.
But, never mind, Shirto. Why would Mr.
Unusual actions have unusual reasons behind them. Let's...
Try your luck betting on Jade? Miss Yanfei? Might I be so bold?
If you could just confirm for me once more, sir. Mr. Crossell did indeed claim that the ore he brought to your...
Yes, that's right. I still have a record of the job with me, in fact. Here. It's...
Then I have no further questions. But could I borrow the processing record?
Of course. But...
Oh, I have my reasons. Yes. Please sign here on this affidavit. This document shall serve as signed proof that these stone shavings originated from the,
Yes, I see. Forgive me for asking again, Miss Yan...
I wouldn't say there's been an incident. Just a minor issue. Thank you, sir. I'll take these with me.
With this hard evidence to back us up, Crossell won't dare try to deny what he did.
On the contrary, this is far from sufficient to build a case. We need to find something a little more... If you want to make jewelry, you need a professional jewelsmith. Let me think. Jewelry... Nope. Aha! Got it! Singsi. She often helps people to find a jewelsmith.
Well, that was quick. How come you know so many people?
Because lots of people come to me for legal advice every day. As you know, Liyue Harbor is the city of contracts. And contracts, but the amendments made by the Tianquan to our laws are unnecessarily complicated. How can I put this? As such, legal advisors...
So you help them make sense of the law. But didn't you say that it's hard to understand and impossible to finish?
Yes, well, that's no obstacle, because I've memorized all the legal codices.
You memorized it?
You sound surprised. Knowing the law inside out is a legal advisor's bread and butter, you know? Oh, this has nothing to do with being an adeptus. I just like reading things.
Again, with that casual tone.
Well, that's that then. Let's go look for Singsi.
Oh, Miss Yanfei, it's you. Has something happened?
Have no further trouble from then on? Yes, of course. Has a merchant by the name of Crossell asked you to put him in contact with a jewelsmith recently?
Crossell? Yes, I remember him. He's a merchant from Snezhnaya, no? The design of the hairpins that he gave me was quite intricate, so it took me some work to find someone who was up to the job. This order was on hold for a very long time, and only completed...
Doesn't seem like there's any evidence to be found here.
Miss Singsi, I'd like for you to confirm for me once more. When Mr. Crossell commissioned you to find him a jewelsmith, did he or did he not assert that the material he
Yes, I'm sure of it. The hairpins were made using many expensive materials, and the asking price was quite high, so Mr. Crossel wasn't very familiar with the necessary procedures. So I filed it on his. I also kept a copy for my own records. See for yourself. The item is called The Inlaid Gemstone is recorded as Smaragdus Jadeite. The document even has the official seal of the ministry on it.
Thank you, Singsi. Now, could you let me borrow this?
Sure, it isn't serving much purpose here anyway. I take it.
Nothing you need to worry about, just a minor issue. I'll return your document as soon as I'm done with it. Thanks again.
Why is everyone's first reaction always to assume someone or something is in trouble?
I believe we have almost all the evidence we need. We just need to make one last trip. Let's go to Boo Boo Pharmacy to speak with Dr. Baiju.
The weirdo with the snake around his neck? What do you want to speak to him?
Because only he can provide an authoritative statement confirming that Smaragdus Jade. Once we have this final piece of evidence in our hands, we can wrap this case up.
My, to what do I owe the pleasure? Though I'm afraid that if it isn't Miss Yanfei as well. Now that's an even rarer honor. What business brings you here, might I inquire?
No. I'm here this time to ask if you're familiar with...
Smaragdus Jadeite? Why, yes, there is some information about it included in the 6th. The 7 Mountain Treatises states that this substance springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains and will bring disaster to... It is abundant in elemental energy, so if someone without a vision is in contact with it for a prolonged period, best case scenario, they fall ill. Worst case scenario, they'll suffer. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't come all this way just to chit-chat. Knowing you, Yanfei, and given the I suppose that you're about to ask me to write an official affidavit attesting to the pharmaceutical
That is indeed the case. If you would be so kind, Dr.
No trouble at all. It's just a single document. Won't take me a moment. I would mention, though, that you are not the only one who's developed a curiosity for Smaragdus. But after I gave him my reply, his expression shifted to one of remark. I wonder, Miss Yanfei, if your pressing business might be related...
You needn't concern yourself about that, Dr. Baiju. Thank you for penning us that document. I'll make sure to compensate you in due course.
You're too kind. Take care now. Take care now, everyone.
That Baiju guy is as weird as ever. Is it just Paimon, or does it feel like he was fishing for something back there?
Dr. Baiju's always been like that. Well, we have the evidence we need. Let's go find Mr. Crossel.
Miss Yanfei, have you finished your investigation? I trust you will now be in a position to assess the compensation due.
Yes, my investigation is indeed concluded. I can now provide a final figure for the amount paid.
Wonderful. Well then, please, could you do the honors, Miss Yanfei?
Of course. Mr. Crossel, you must pay Mr. Chow 10 times the original transaction price in Mora.
Sure. Wait, what? Me pay her? Surely there's been some kind of mistake.
Not at all. According to my investigations and the material evidence that we've gathered, the substance claimed to be Smaragdus Jadeite that was inlaid within... Now, the contract states very clearly that 10 times the price shall be paid should the article not be genuine. Accordingly, you're allowed.
Material evidence? What material evidence? Why, I spent a huge sum to obtain that Smaragdus Jadeite, and yet you claim that the ore inlaid on the hairpins is somehow fake? I demand to see your evidence.
Indeed. Only a testimony from an expert witness involved in the processing of the ore can serve as an authoritative assessment of whether this is a processing record from the Jade Mystery, along with stone samples and an affidavit.
Seriously? Even the boss there couldn't differentiate between Smaragdus Jadeite and Smaragdus Nephrite. How does this prove any? In any case, Smaragdus Nephrite is the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite. So I had him cut away the nephrite, he returned the valuable jadeite core to me, and some nephrite sample.
That's an unsubstantiated book.
Well, your claim that my ore is fake is just as unsubstantiated. And we are here to talk about evidence, aren't we?
Looks like our first piece of evidence didn't convince him at all. Seems like he came prepared.
Hard evidence, something legally binding. We have just the thing.
This document proves that my hairpins are the real deal, doesn't it? This is the Ministry's seal, after all. It shows that the ore inlaid on the...
Our second piece of evidence didn't work either. And this guy's getting more belligerent by the second.
You know, you could be right. Perhaps the hairpins are the real deal after all.
Of course I'm right. All the evidence shown supports my story.
Well, hang on a moment now, because I do recall one final piece of evidence. Traveler, would you do the honors? This shall serve as decisive proof of our case.
What's this?
Smaragdus Jadeite springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. Sustained contact with Smaragdus Jadeite over a prolonged period will, in less serious cases, cause a mild malady, while in serious cases... Mr. Crossell, were you aware of these peculiar properties?
I had no idea.
No idea, you say? I'd guessed as much. But for you to have rented out such a dangerous site, I'm afraid that this falls outside the scope of my work, but within that of the Ministry of Civil. However, I'm sure that the Ministry will be relatively lenient, considering that, as you... Don't worry, Mr. Crossell. I will make sure that all the evidence presented here will be handed... I trust that you'll give them your full cooperation in their investigations.
What? Wait! I knew.
Oh, so you knew? Oh, dear Mr. Crossell. But if you knew of Smaragdus Jadeite's danger...
Huh? No,
Aren't actually inlaid with genuine Smaragdus Jadeite? Is that what you were about to say? You do understand, Mr. Crossell, that this means that you will have to pay Mr. Chow 10 times the original price in Mora? Mr. Crossell, your answer, please. My client and I are waiting.
Yanfei's seriously intimidating right now. It's like she's a different person.
I admit it. I confess. The ore I had inlaid on those hairpins was Smaragdus Nep. But I'm a victim in all of this too. I invested a great deal of time and money into acquiring that small amount of Smaragdus Jadeite. But after receiving it and carrying it around for a few days, I started to feel extreme discomfort. I went to a pharmacy to get myself checked out, only to discover that this sort of stone cannot be worn as jewelry. But how could I let all that money go to? That's why I had another pair of hairpins made from Smaragdus Nephrite, which is almost indistinguishable from Smaragdus Jadeite. I kept the real Smaragdus Jadeite in a specially made box. I daren't touch it again. I was worried that someone would see through it, which is why I only dared to rent them out, not sell them. And then to top it all off, Jiqiao lost the hairpins after I rented them out to him.
Exactly. If they weren't the real deal, why'd you make her pay?
I didn't want to either, but when I purchased that Smaragdus Jadeite, some of my business partners found out. I knew they'd be watching closely to... If word got out that I sold a pair of fake hairpins, then my days...
All right, let's cut the appeals phase right there. I failed to see what bearing any of this has on your transaction with my client. According to the contract, you must pay Mr.
10 times?
Crossell looks like he could faint any second.
As for me, according to my contract with Mr. Chow, 20% of that sum will go to me.
20%? That's as much as I spent on that Smaragdus Jadeite.
There's no need. It's fine. You don't have to pay me that much more. Even if the Smaragdus jadeite on those hairpins was fake, I still bear responsibility for losing them. Legally or not, I think...
Ms. Chow.
However, Mr. Crossell, since you have no use for that chunk of Smaragdus jadeite, why don't you give it to me instead? I'll consider...
What? But I... All right, then. This cursed rock's
Miss Yanfei, I'll turn this Smaragdus jadeite over to you. I trust that it will suffice as remuneration?
Well, that's not quite how the rules say this should go. But whatever. It'll do.
Thanks so much for your help this time, Miss Yanfei. When you have the time, I'll be sure to visit and express my...
Oh, come on. No need to stand on ceremony. Now, if I may confirm this again, Mr. Chow.
Well, yes.
Well then, that's good. Mr. Crossell, it seems that my client has no further claims against you.
Is that so? That's...
Actually, Mr. Crossell, I'd like to talk business first. I could see from the hairpins you produce that you're very skilled in jewelry design. My family, on the other hand, works in the ore business, and we have a fair stock of... If we could join forces, your jewelry designs and our choice ores, I think we could do some fine business.
Let me think for a moment.
Well, that's that. And we've got the Smaragdus jadeite that Granny wants too. All's well that ends well, eh?
Exactly. Usually when someone tells us they've lost something, we end up searching all over the place for it. But this time, you managed to even though the solution didn't involve...
The right solution depends on your perspective on the objective of my client, Mr. Chow, was to reduce her liability to pay compensation. So, rather than looking high and low for some hairpins, proving that the rented item was nowhere near worth what the vendor had claimed it to be, what an adeptus. Speaking of, you took part in that battle, didn't you? In which Liyue Harbor is now a city ruled by humans. The title of Adeptus means precious little to me compared to my job as... In any case, don't you think that the Liyue Harbor of today needs legal consultancy far more than it needs Adeptal?
Paimon can think of someone who would definitely disagree with your reasoning.
Well, since we got what we came for, it's time to pay Granny a visit.
If we could join forces...
Ah, you've returned. How did it go? We're good. Then we have all...
Well, if we're all set, Granny, I'll get going now. Got a ton of clients waiting for me back at...
Oh, you. All right, then. Go.
I'm off then. Bye. Oh, yes, Traveler. Make sure I've been looking into the laws of other nations as well. If you should ever bump into any trouble with the law...
Come now, child. Are you leaving or are you not? If you have no wish to leave, perhaps you'd like to help me clean my...
I'm leaving. I'm leaving.
That child. Goodness knows where she learned to be so rambunctious. Her father was hardly so... Indeed she is. Liyue has changed, and the Yanfei might be overly garrulous, but she is also the most intimately acquainted with the city. Liyue is not the same place. All right, then. Let us speak of this no more.
Oh, Paimon's so excited! How is it made?
It is but a single teapot. It shan't take... There we go. Hold it firmly. If you were to drop, take these blueprints with you as well. You'll need them if you wish to make your teapot.
Wait a minute, Granny. How exactly are we...
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I've already arranged for a certain...
Wanna come over for... tea?
Wow! This teapot seems even bigger inside than Madame Ping's. Huh. But there's just a whole load of nothing around it. Paimon can't do that. Well, you're the one with the sword anyway. You do. Still, why is it so... Oh, wait a second. What is that?
Well, it seems that we have a...
It's a huge finch.
Excuse me, I am not a finch. Hang on a moment. Oh, call me. I suppose you may call me
So you're the little helper,
Madam Ping? Oh, you must mean Ping. Yes, she did. You may leave all matters regarding the... Your journey may be far from over. But at least this way, though it is the Adepti who create realms such as this, thus, we teapot spirits were created to help guard their realms and manage their You may consider me a butler, if you will. Now, allow me to explain this realm to you. Have you any blueprints on you? Specifically, blueprints. As long as you have a blueprint, you can refashion.
Blueprints? Oh, that's right! Granny handed us some when she gave us the...
Yes, these are the blueprints. Just commit the image of the objects to then simply release the thought from your mind and the object.
Wow! Is that all it takes? Then we could build a whole city inside, couldn't we?
I doubt it. A golden-eyed adeptus explained this to me at some point. He said that even though subspace creation is a product of this world is not a true one after all. It provides merely a moment of brief rest.
A golden-eyed adeptus?
I hardly remember myself. What's more, I have never seen that adeptus. Well, let's not dwell on that. Have a look around. Best you get accustomed to if there's anything you would like to ask,